It's January, it's the dead season, and it's a horror film. God help us. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam, here with my brief thoughts on We Bury the Dead. This starred Daisy Ridley and Brenton Thwaites. It tells the story of a woman played by Daisy Ridley who is separated from her husband due to a military disaster. To make a long story short, there was a rather incidental military exercise where the US fired something they weren't supposed to fire at the island of Tasmania. Tasmania is pretty much uninhabitable in certain parts, and it is up to volunteers of locals to go and find the bodies. Daisy Ridley's character volunteers, and she goes into the southern half, which is not allowed, you're not allowed to go in there. But with the help of a man played by Brenton Thwaites, she navigates her way through the south in order to find her husband. So it's kind of an unwritten rule somewhere that January always starts out with horror. I didn't make the rules on that one, it just is what it is. And I've often said that I feel like January gets a bit of a bad rap. It's definitely the worst month of the year for movies, but there are some gems that come out of it on occasion. Unfortunately, this is not one of them. Now, this isn't far from the worst. However, it's just not really that remarkable of a film. Daisy Ridley and her overall character arc is the best part of the movie. It's not saying all that much, but she is the best part. She's not given all that much to do, and everything we learn about her, we learn through flashbacks, which is rather disappointing. And this is a rare exception of a movie being 90 minutes long, and I wanted it to be longer because the movie doesn't take its time to explain why she and her husband separated. There are implications through the flashbacks, but nothing is ever expressly stated. So it all just you're kind of left to fill in the blanks on your own, and that's not entirely interesting in this case. Brenton Thwaites is good, however, he's not given much character until the bitter end of the movie, and by then, you just really don't care. The biggest positive is that the movie looks great. Like, there's some very stirring wide shots, and just on the technical side of things, the look of the zombies is actually rather disturbing in places. And there's kind of an air of something like in I Walk with a Zombie, where you look at it and you go, are you dead or are you alive? And you don't know. I wish it would have been played up a little more. It's not something like, say, Last of Us, where you know these things are like animated, but they're clearly dead. Here, it's kind of like are you? Aren't you? The biggest negative I have is just overall, the movie's just not really that memorable. There's good ideas, but they're never really followed through on. The movie's 90 minutes, and it should have been longer if that's what they were planning on doing. With zombie movies, especially in this month of all months, when we're getting 28 years later, The Bone Temple coming out in just a couple weeks, if you're going to make a zombie movie or a zombie TV show or whatever, you need to be unique and different. Like, you can't just be a diet Last of Us or a ripoff 28 years later. You need to stand out, and We Bury the Dead does nothing really to stand out. It's honestly pretty forgettable. Not totally unwatchable, but it definitely just is a movie that exists, which, considering how bad January movies can get, having a January movie be watchable is certainly not a bad thing. But I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of We Bury the Dead? Let me know in the comments. I would love to read what you have to say. And I have a full written review of this linked down below if you want to hear more of my thoughts in written form. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.